18 degrees, you would expect that if someone was outside, they'd have a coat on, correct?
I'm the kind of person that wears shorts throughout the year. I'll often go without a jacket.
Had you had the information, for instance, that Brian Higgins admitted to having seen a tall, dark-haired man walk in the house, that might have changed the complexion of your investigation at that time.
Can you answer that, Detective Lieutenant?
In the off chance that Mr. Higgins presumably had said something like that,
You were asked the question, quote, did that male come inside the house? You answered, I believe he did.
Brian Tully, T-U-L-L-Y,
How are you employed, sir?
with the Massachusetts State Police.
Oh no, not another Massachusetts State Trooper. All right, let's listen.
How long have you been a member of the state police?
18 years. Further on, I have now been an instructor about cell phones and cell phone technology and criminal investigations. I've taught death investigation classes around the Commonwealth, and as well as search and seizure law in Massachusetts.
What was your understanding at that time as far as what the role of the Canton Police would be?
Really to provide support. So anytime we're in a local community, we need the support of the local police. The support of the local police. If we're going to start knocking on doors, we want to make sure they're aware or present.
You indicated that you didn't seek a search warrant for 34 Fairview, the interior of 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
To your knowledge, nobody under your supervision sought such a search warrant either, correct?
Correct.
You explained that in your mind, there was no probable cause to seek a search warrant for the interior of the home, is that right?
Yes.
But you also admitted that you didn't seek consent, for which you don't have to have probable cause if you get consent, correct?
Correct.
You could ask me right now, hey, Alan, can I look at your cell phone? If I say sure, you do your thing, right?
I could.
I am curious. What do you think is the most nefarious thing on Alan's cell phone at that time?
Court to order that I hand over my cell phone. You got to get a search warrant, sign an affidavit, and get a court to agree with it, correct?
Yes.
You indicated that you did not believe that there was information sufficient that y'all had at the very initial stages of the investigation to seek a search warrant or to ask for consent, correct?
Yes.
You can't blame the state trooper for not wanting to search the house because at that time, all they had was a dead body laying on that front lawn.
But you did know the following. In the initial moments, you were aware that John O'Keefe had been invited to a party inside a home, correct?
Yes.
You knew that that home was located at 34 Fairview.
Yes.
You also knew that John O'Keefe arrived at 34 Fairview, correct?
We believe so, yes.
You also knew at the time that he had been, for want of a better phrase, partying with the individuals who were inside the home, correct?
All irrelevant details.
Expected to meet at the house.
They were at a bar previous to that, yes.
You're aware that a drinking glass was found in the yard attendant to or close to, adjacent to where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found.
Yes.
That drinking glass had been broken, correct?
Yes.
You're aware that drinking glasses are commonly found inside homes, right?
As well as bars.
What a snarky answer by this trooper.
It's a broken glass, correct.
You also know that he was found without a coat on.
Yes.
Are coats normally worn outside or inside?
It's user's choice.
Fair enough. 18 degrees, you would expect that if someone was outside, they'd have a coat on, correct?
I'm the kind of person that wears shorts throughout the year. I'll often go without a jacket.
Another snarky answer by the trooper. What he's really saying is he won't admit to any problems with his investigation.
A true Bostonian.
Yes, sir.
He didn't have any coat, gloves, scarf, nothing like that.
Correct.
He had no winter gear on whatsoever, correct?
Correct.
You certainly would expect that if someone took their coat, their glove, their hat, their winter gear off, they might leave it inside the house, right?
It's probably predicated on where you take it off.
Right.
And your relationship to the location.
Reasonable assumption might be the winter gear might be inside the house.
Objection.
Is that a reasonable assumption, Detective Lieutenant?
No, Your Honor.
It's not reasonable that he would have his jacket inside the house? You wouldn't just assume that?
Well, using the term "the house," you talking about any house? 34 Fairview?
The house with the dead body laying on it, you big dope.
No, it's not reasonable.
All right. You didn't think it was reasonable at the time?
Still don't.
I'm asking if you believed it was reasonable if a man is found 30 feet outside the front door of a home and he's got no winter gear on whatsoever, that perhaps he came from inside the home not having donned his winter gear.
It's not reasonable, given other information I had.
You also know that he didn't have a shoe on, correct?
Yes.
Where might you look for the shoe if you didn't find it out by his body
4 blocks away.
initially?
Well, the question's not accurate to the facts we had at the time.
You were also aware that, at least initially, it appeared from accounts that John O'Keefe may have been involved in a physical altercation, correct?
Possible.
As a matter of fact, that was reported by one of your subordinates, Yuri Buchanan,
Trooper Bukaki?
to the medical examiner's office, right?
As a possibility, yes.
And you're aware that Trooper Proctor, according to certain information he had gotten from first responders, also believed that a physical altercation was possible.
It was possible, yeah.
You also knew that the house would be a normal location to have other individuals who might have been involved in that physical altercation.
Can you answer that, Detective Lieutenant?
An altercation could take place anywhere.
Exactly.
And people can often travel from the location of the altercation miles away to another location.
Or they could travel 30 feet outside as well, correct?
Yes.
You became aware of Brian Higgins, correct?
Yes.
That name was bantied about as a potential witness in the investigation, correct?
Yes.
And you're aware that Brian Higgins indicated that he saw a tall, dark-haired man enter the home after he arrived, correct?
I'm not aware of that.
And the reason you're not aware of it is because nobody bothered to interview Brian Higgins.
I'd ask it differently, Mr.
When was
Jackson.
Brian Higgins first interviewed?
February 7th?
7th, 10th? Yeah, in February, not January 29th, certainly.
Correct.
Although he was known to be inside the house, correct?
Yes.
Had you had the information, for instance, that Brian Higgins admitted to having seen a tall, dark-haired man walk in the house, that might have changed the complexion of your investigation at that time.
Can you answer that, Detective Lieutenant?
In the off chance that Mr. Higgins presumably had said something like that,
You were asked the question, quote, did that male come inside the house? You answered, I believe he did. Question, so you saw someone else come? Answer, somebody else. Yes, correct?
Yes, but I also said that I wasn't paying
Mr. Higgins,
attention.
I realize that you want to explain your answer. I've asked you a very simple question. Was that your testimony in front of another proceeding?
Yes, it was.
At another proceeding, which you were under oath?
Yes, it was.
As we've been observing Higgy Bear in his natural habitat, it's becoming clearer and clearer each day that he's the #1 suspect.
You also said that you only remember seeing that person come in briefly. You were asked how long was the person in there roughly, and you said it was quick. Less than a couple of minutes. I mean, it was quick,
That sounds like he's describing how long it took to attack the person.
correct?
Yes.
I would certainly need more information describing this person.
And then you were asked what he looked like, and you said, I feel like they were a little bit taller, and you had dark hair, correct?
Yes.
So you testified that a tall, dark-haired male came into the house at least briefly, correct?
Yes.
I would ask a series of questions to narrow it down to make sure that this person was John O'Keefe.
I would, I could, I should have. This dope didn't ask Higgy Bear anything.
Nobody did seek a warrant to go inside the house, correct?
Correct.
Nobody did seek to have a forensic team go inside the house and look.
Correct.
You got information during the course of your investigation that an eyewitness placed a Ford Edge in front of 34 Fairview in the early morning hours of January 29, 2022, correct?
I'm familiar with that.
The eyewitness indicated that the Ford Edge was placed there sometime between 2:30 in the morning and 3:30 in the morning, correct?
I'm familiar with that.
Brian Loughran, Loughran.
And there he is, Canton royalty, Brian Lucky Loughran.
In what town do you live, sir?
I live in Canton.
Where did you grow up?
In Canton.
How long have you lived in Canton?
All my life.
Having grown up in Canton, are you familiar with the Albert brothers?
Yes, I am.
Which ones?
All of them.
How many decades had the Albert family lived at that address, if you know?
I couldn't give you a year, but I know as long as I've been in Canton, they've lived at that residence.
Do you remember when you spoke to the private investigator, you actually said 3 o'clock?
I don't remember the 3 o'clock.
Do you remember you said that when you went on your second pass, it was around 3:15?
I told him I went up Fairview between about 2:40 to 2:45. And I said about 45 minutes later, I went for the second time.
It was dark out that night, wasn't it?
Correct.
There are no street lights down near that flagpole area of 34 Fairview, is there?
Yes, there is.
You tell him, Lucky.
As the supervising investigator, did you do anything to investigate the circumstances of that Ford Edge being placed in front of 34 Fairview sometime between 2:30 and 3:30 in the morning?
Yes.
What did you do?
We determined the veracity of that statement, and we want to make sure that the person who gave it is consistent and accurate and had a good vantage point of it.
What truck or snowplow were you assigned in those early morning hours?
I was assigned truck 30.
Does that have a particular nickname?
Yes, it's considered a Franken truck.
What do those photos depict?
They depict the inside of truck 30 or Franken truck. Yes, that's the inside of the Franken truck.
And there's the view old King Lucky had driving Frankenchuck around on that fateful morning.
Looking out the windshield.
When you are plowing, sir, where is your attention focus? Now, when you're plowing, where is your attention focus, sir?
My attention's focused out the front window, to the right and to the left.
Why?
I am looking for pedestrians. I'm looking for residents that may be backing out, not aware that I'm there, and God forbid, animals. Any pedestrians, and God forbid, any animals.
You satisfied with that?
No.
Why not?
Well, the person has given the statement multiple times, and it appears to have changed.
This dope tried to claim that Lucky Loughran, the only honest man in Massachusetts, was not credible.
Over those times,
Now, in fact, when you first spoke to this individual named Paul, you didn't tell him it was a Ford Edge, correct?
Nope, told him it was a Ford Edge.
You didn't tell him first that it was a small SUV?
Nope, told him it was a Ford Edge.
it also appears that the person observed this vehicle from a distance.
Describe for the jury what you see in the road at that point.
As I make my right onto Fairview, I notice that there's a vehicle on the right-hand side, roughly in the area of the flagpole, in front of 34 Fairview.
What type of vehicle was that?
A Ford Edge.
What direction was that vehicle parked when you saw it?
It was parked nose going up Fairview.
What caused you to remember that there was a Ford Edge parked at 3:30 outside the Alberts residence that night?
For as long as I can remember, they have never parked a vehicle in front of their house. They've always had enough ample parking in the driveway.
How dare that dopey trooper ever questions Lucky's honesty?
And typically, at least around this time of January or late January 2022, as far as the vehicles that you were talking about, would any of those vehicles go in the garage or what was in the garage?
On the stand is Nicole Albert. She lived at 34 Fairview on that night.
There was a storm coming. We would try to arrange things so we could at least maybe get one or two of the cars in there, but otherwise we didn't put the cars in the garage. Only if it was gonna, be a storm, we would try to get some of them out of the driveway.
There is no parking allowed.
Nicole's testimony 100 backs Lucky's claim that they never parked any of their cars in front of their house.
We are supposed to notify our supervisor when there is a vehicle in the way. At that point, the supervisor will make attempt to call the resident or have the police show up at the resident. And then if they can't get the car removed, the car gets towed.
Sir, did you follow protocol that night?
I did not.
Why not?
Knowing the Albert family, I gave them respect and opted not to follow procedure.
How did the presence of that Ford Edge parked on the side of the road affect your direction of travel?
I had to go around the vehicle.
How did you maneuver around it?
I had to maneuver to the left, go up, and then maneuver back right into my lane, and then continue up Fairview.
I had my car, which was a Cadillac. My husband had his work car. We had, I think, a Ford Explorer. The kids were driving a Ford Escape.
Testified earlier that there are 4 cars that are usually parked in the driveway at 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
And you listed at least the make and model of about 3 of those vehicles.
Yeah.
You said there's a Cadillac that usually is parked in your driveway, there's a Ford Explorer, and there's a Ford Escape, correct?
Yeah.
But you also said there's a 4th car. That's your husband's work vehicle.
Yes.
I wonder what type of car she forgot to mention.
Yeah. My husband had his work car.
What type of car is that?
That's a Ford Edge.
Is there a reason that you didn't want to state or commit to that in front of this jury when you originally testified?
No, there's no reason. I was just trying to think of all the different cars. We have 5 kids. We've had a lot of different vehicles. I was just saying it as I remembered it.
Again, I saw the Ford Edge in the road.
Now it's on your left side?
Yes.
Did it appear to be in the identical position as when you came up the street toward Chapman?
Yes.
And also the identification of a Ford Edge seemed highly suggestive the way that I had read the account of it. If I had done that as a police officer, this court would throw out that identification.
This big dope is confusing exactly what happened. He's claiming that Lucky was shown a Ford Edge and then asked if that was the car he saw. What he's referring to is if a police officer shows you just one picture of one suspect and asks you, is this the suspect? That would not be a valid method to identify someone.
Did you find out anybody in the Albert family, for instance, on the Ford Edge?
I don't recall off the top of my head if somebody,
Did you look? Automobile registration records?
I did not know.
Did you task anybody else to look at automobile registration records?
I believe Trooper Proctor and Sergeant Mechanic
Trooper Bukaki?
had investigated that.
And do you have any idea what that investigation revealed?
I don't.
Did the Alberts own a Ford Edge?
I don't know as I sit here.
They did own a Ford Edge, didn't they?
What kind of vehicle was that?
That was a Ford Edge. Objection.
So the objection is sustained.
But nothing was done further that you're aware of to investigate the circumstances of that Ford Edge
Ford Edge.
Ford Edge.
being seen, placed in front of 34 Fairview, right where the body was found.
An investigation into the reliability of that witness
Has a crime ever been solved in Massachusetts with these dopes investigating?
conducted.
So you just decided, and that investigation, quotes, is, I didn't believe him.
Remember at any time Paul taking you on the parking lot and showing you different vehicles and asking you if those vehicles matched what vehicle you saw?
No, he wanted to make sure that what I was telling him was accurate. So he showed me what was a Ford Edge, but I had already told him it was a Ford Edge.
So he brought you out to the parking lot at the skating rink that you were meeting at, specifically showed you a Ford Edge and asked you if that was the vehicle.
Correct.
Now, do you know sort of the difference between, if you were to see a Ford Edge at nighttime in a snowstorm, the difference between a Ford Edge and a Jeep Cherokee?
Yes.
What's the difference?
The taillights in the back.
What about it?
Ford Edge is a more round, whole back facade is a little bit more round. A Jeep Cherokee are more square.
And let's take a look here. Lucky's 100% right. The Ford Edge clearly is rounded here, while the Jeep Cherokee is definitely more square.
An investigation into the reliability of that witness was conducted.
How dare this dope even question the honesty of old King Lucky? Literally the only honest person in Massachusetts.